Say.
Alright, start with the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to his people Israel and to all the peoples through his son Yeshua the Messiah our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, look. What's been happening? Give me a rundown. Tell me what's going on. Huh? Isaiah.
Prophecy.
God, yeah.
Wow.
Isaiah. Yes.
Songs.
Songs. What else? Mourning.
We
Not
did
mourning.
do chapter 6 last week.
Yes, we did.
We also talk about Isaiah.
You want to know what we did talk about?
Yes.
We spoke about how the grapes, when God had prepared the ground and then he was expecting like the proper grapes, and then it was like disappointing because the little ones came out, and talking about
The bitterness in a
and
different
that in
context.
a way that it's his people,
Yes.
where that actually really happens because there's wild grapes and there's like the cultivated grapes. Is that the difference?
Yes.
And then how we as people he can have all the soil ready and give us everything we need, and then we can still come up with small and sour. So
Okay.
that was one part.
One part. Anybody else?
What else was
And they squish it with their feet.
Huh?
Squish it with their feet.
Squish grapes and feet. You guys really paid attention.
Small things will be small.
We spoke about your vineyard being on a hillock,
Right?
that your neighbors would build your walls up, your retaining walls up, to stop the water flow from damaging your flocks, your crops, their crops, the crops below, and so on and so forth. And you do the same for your neighbor.
Right. Okay.
did you talk about that thing that protects the...
Well, the walls,
Yes.
because if it was wall slides, it will take down your
Yes,
wall.
is that what you were saying now?
Yes, that's what he was saying. All right. Thank you very much more. Okay, let's jump into chapter 7.
You said a lot of stuff last week.
I know, it was deep.
It was deep.
You mentioned also daughters of Zion, the commoners,
Yeah,
the city.
Commoners where? Where were the daughters of Zion? What were the daughters of Zion?
Judah.
You said the daughters of Zion were just the normal woman of Israel.
One could
Yeah,
be the
there was
normal
the
actual
difference.
daughters of Zion, and the other one
No,
could
you
be
said everyone.
The commons, yeah.
the
everyone.
commoners, the poorer
Oh,
people
yeah.
that were staying outside of the city.
Mm.
Okay? So it's a reference to the daughters of Zion, because those were normally staying outside of the city. Like I said, before we go into, when we go to Israel and you go walk around the sites and you see the cities, you don't see much outside of the city walls. Okay? So whatever we picked up, what the archaeologists had picked up in the city, and you looked at storehouses and you looked at this and you picked up potshots, like little pieces of pottery and all the rest of it, and they put it together, it tells you a very good story of how the rich people lived in that time. Okay, you have to go out, there was normally nothing left by the time the raiders came, and then they smashed up into the walls. Remember, the walls were designed to keep people out. Okay? You were locked in here, this was our safety zone. Okay? So most of the time, the people that were staying out in the fields, and the farmers' house and all those things, staying in the settlements on all the outside, those were normally the first people that get wiped out. Those were the houses that were burned and ransacked and all the rest of it, and then the siege only took place when they went to the gate. Okay? So the daughters of Zion would normally be the people outside of that, and we have very little traces of those times, purely because of the way Israel is. Okay? Every time someone got a bee in the bonnet and they wanted to go knock boots with one of the big superpowers, whether you were Egypt coming up, or Assyria or Babylon coming down, or Mesopotamia coming down, they would walk through Israel. So, and remember, every springtime they thought, no, we need to get stuff done. And so they would march their army and they would destroy and capture and do whatever they need to get down, to build up their courage and build up, wealth and all the rest of it by the time they got to Egypt. And then the big battle would take place, and then the guys would take the spoils. Okay? So, yeah, it gives you a good indication of what's going on. All right.
We also spoke about not losing focus on God, and that sometimes the things in front of us, and you put the chair there, like we're looking at that, and then when we pray about it to God, like next minute, He's actually sorted that thing out. But because we were like, no, looking at it instead of looking at God, not losing our focus.
Yes, oh guys, that's very good. All right, let's get into chapter 7. All right. In the reign of King Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram and King Pekah, son of Ramana of Israel, marched up upon Jerusalem to attack it, but they were not able to attack it. Why is King Pekah and King Rezin coming up against Ahaz?
Because they, if I remember right, they wanted him to go up with them to take over Babylon,
You got a big brain.
something like that.
There was a coalition formed against Assyria.
But he didn't want to start with them, and then they wanted to kick him out.
That's right. They wanted to kick Ahaz out, not take over the whole territory, and they wanted to put another guy's son into position. Okay, a nice reference there, 2 Kings 16 and 2 Kings 28. All right. So Ahaz refused the coalition. All right, and then they said, okay, well, if you refuse it, then we'll put someone in power that will listen to it or listen to us. And remember, there was prophecy saying, don't worry about it, it's all going to get sorted. Now, when it was reported to the house of David that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, here's the two kings, their hearts and the hearts of the people trembled as trees in the forest sway before a wind. But the Lord said to Isaiah, go out with your son, She'er Yazru. What does She'er Yazru mean?
Shawnee.
Remnant shall return.
A remnant shall return. So you've got a message, but take your kid with you. Okay? Why is the kid going? What is the kid going to do with any of this?
Because the line of David will not pass. If he gets killed, well, this guy already sacrificed some of his kids.
Yeah.
So maybe this was only one who was left.
Yeah.
He
So,
is
yeah.
on the right path because I read that it was showing because the son's name meant the remnant shall return, that through David, Messiah will come, Yeshua will come.
What does that mean to us?
Well, the thing is, it's not to Ahaz.
Well, it's a
It's a
promise.
promise that was
Well,
made.
he said,
to
go and
David.
take this prophecy to Ahaz, prophecy to Ahaz. Take your son with you, Yeshayahu. Go and talk to this man.
Because I still think that God is trying to change his heart.
He was trying to change his heart, and he was trying to tell him what?
That God still loves him, God still with him. No matter
What else?
And that it's important that
You guys were talking about the era of David, the era of King David. You're on that track.
God honors his promises.
Exactly. So that no matter what is facing you, I'm still focusing on working through you, so this will be okay. This is the son. Remember, the son's name was actually, this one will be born and you will call him a remnant shall return. Now this remnant shall return is a sign to the king that no matter what happens, God is in control and he will bring his people back and establish them. Remember who he's talking to. King Uzziah, good king, bad king.
Right.
Are you Uzziah?
Uzziah.
Good.
Uzziah,
Oh,
good
he is a
king.
good king.
King Jotham,
Good.
good king. Okay, so, and Ahaz,
Bad.
naughty,
Naughty.
pagan, idols, running around everywhere, doing everything against what God had instructed, and yet, God was saying, in spite of you, a remnant shall return, number one. Or number two, he's saying, don't you worry, even though you are walking in idolatry, I have not forsaken my promise you made to David. Okay? So, we kind of beat ourselves up after, you stumble a little bit and then you're like, oh no, God's left me. Ah. You go through this whole motion. This man was sacrificing children and having mass parties when everybody just all of a sudden loses their clothes in public. And they do stuff to each other. I'm trying to be PG. So that, and he comes to him and he says, don't worry about it. It's okay. A remnant shall return. How patient is God that he will tolerate that sort of behavior, even though this is a son of two righteous kings before God.
Because even we once that story where he said, will you save them if so many would you so many, and then it would less and less and less, and God would still
Sodom and Gomorrah.
hold his back as well if there were even just a few that
Even
would.
just a few righteous. And if I can change this king's
Because
heart,
that's God's heart at the end of the day. It's not just like, oh, you're bad.
But
It's
with the
like,
consequences that came.
yeah, definitely.
that's, he would save them if you were people that were still.
Yeah, he would.
That's what
Because
he-
God's heart is, what we want fire, brimstone, and that's it. And let's face it, it's very quick to go, it's about time. I caught myself today doing that. No? this whole Paris thing, people blowing each other up, killing innocent people left, right, and centre. And then the French said, "That's it." I don't know if you guys have heard anything on the news.
Bombing in the back.
They went, not only did they start bombing ISIS in Syria, but they went on, and they took out virtually, they went into a town with all their special forces workers, and they went into this and they captured, well, they killed a couple, but overall 9 of a different terror cell were actually found. And some lady detonated herself with one of those suicide vests and blew herself up amongst other things. And I sat there thinking, yeah, it's about time these guys do something. And then I stopped and I thought, yeah, is that really the heart of the Messiah? No. These people are so blinded and they're so full of hate and they're so full of hurt that they consider it okay to go and kill innocent people. Yeshua, while he was dying on the cross, an innocent man being convicted, beaten, flayed, whipped. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. Stephen, the first martyr, outside of what we call Lion's Gate in Jerusalem, was stoned by a Jewish group of people. People of the Pharisee sect. It was Paul, Shaul, who was sitting there. It says they laid the coats down at his feet, and they stoned this man. And while he was being stoned, forgive them, Father, don't hold the sin against him. So even in the midst of this, you kind of have to stop and you have to think, all right, I need to look at the spirit of what's going on there and what it would be like if I was in that sort of darkness. Remember, we are dealing with people out there that do not have God. And I want you to cast your minds back at any time or way, shape or form that you were unfortunate enough to spend a week, a month, a year, 5 years without God in your life. Without being able to hold on to Him, without being able to pray to Him, without being able to say, look, I really need you right now. And then He comes and He picks you up and He helps you. Remember the time when you didn't know how to do that. Remember the time when you were running around distracting yourself, doing whatever you wanted to do to get to cope. Booze, opposite sex, clubbing, work, whatever you want to call it. Many of this faithful flock now, drugs, and all types of other things that you can ask them about. We've been to the darkest corners. Okay? Many of us have done things that we are very embarrassed about. And the guys will laugh about it and tell you, hey, I tried everything. Because they were so dark and so alone that the only thing they could do to cope with their own life and their own situation was turn to something else to distract them. They were so full of hate, they were so full of hurt. This is exactly where these people are. This is exactly what God is trying to do, to reach out to Ahaz. If I could just change this kid. Now it sounds funny. This is the king. And God's looking down, trying to shake this kid and goes, if I could just get him to open up his eyes. Boy, what are you doing? You're hurting yourself, you're hurting my people, and you're inviting things that are only going to cut you deep. What are you doing? And many of the Muslims today, even though they disagree with our faith and all the rest of it, are sitting there, gripping their kids and trying to keep them away from the extremist sect of this jihadist cult. And they're saying, I don't want you to go with those people because those people will be the death of you. Arab Christians, Arab Muslims are fearing for their children's life because of what that calls out. And that is no different to what the Crusades were, no different to what was going on throughout history in this time, where people get drawn away and all of a sudden they're sitting in a place in a very dark circle and people are talking about horrible things and they don't know how they got there. But you're being told this is the right thing, this is what you need to do. How many times have you been sitting in a room all by yourself? Maybe, okay, from my experience, sitting there with your mates and a bottle, and you're going, this is what you do on a Friday night. I remember sitting up in a club, okay, I'm going to show my age a bit, but we went to Tramps, and it was, that's just an example compared to what we're talking about, but that's all I have. And on a Thursday night, it was 99 cents a shot, okay? So we had friends who organised complimentaries, and we would go in with a complimentary, and you would walk in there with $36. $36, you walk straight to the barman. We were there at 8 o'clock, you put the $36 bucks down, and you say, I'll have a bottle of that and I'll have a black label. I don't drink beer. But to wash the stuff down that I was drinking, it actually tasted nice. And you would walk up to the top there, you would sit up in a corner, and then you would sit there with 4 guys, and we go, okay boys, this is what we do. And you would take the top off and you throw it onto the ground. No one leaves the table. And you would sit there and you would finish 33 shots of Archers or tequila with your beer before the party started. You don't get up. You don't leave. Because this is what real men do.
Remember that?
Oh yeah. We called many different vocal flurries at times. But anyway, you go through this whole process of this is where I am, this is what I'm going through, this is what I consider to be normal. I didn't have God. I didn't realize how far I had slipped, what I was holding on to, what I was trying to identify in myself. You're a real man if you drink. Blah, 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 blah. God crying out to a single person going, what are you doing? Are you really looking at what you're doing? Are you taking stock of what is going to keep you safe? Me? God? Or are you going to carry on down this path and you are going to see hurt? You're going to be alone. And you're going to be sitting over there while your friends are telling you how awesome you were, and you're going to know how empty you are inside because there's nothing there. It happens quickly. And we would be able to go, ha ha, that's it, they're coming down, they're going to speak about AS, you shouldn't have done all these things, and God's just reaching out to him and says, Yeshayahu, take your son and go show him that no matter what happens, I've got this covered. I will look after your family tree. I will look after these people. Why? Because I promised Abraham. I promised, it came through Uzziah, it came through Jotham, and I want you to see that even though you do these things, I love you more than what you can realize. And he sends his son to go and tell him this, to go and meet with Ahaz at the end of the conduit of the upper pool, by the road of the fuller's field. And they said to him, be firm and be calm. Do not be afraid and do not lose heart on account of those smoking stubs of firebrands, on account of the raging of Rezin and the Arameans and the son of Ramallah, because the Arameans with Ephraim and the son of Ramallah had plotted against you, saying, we will march against Judah and invade and conquer it, and we will set up a king in it, the son of Tabil. Thus said the Lord God. So that was their plan. They were going to take this guy Tabil and they were going to put him into power, obviously because he was saying all the right things. It shall not succeed, it shall not come to pass, for the chief city of Aram is Damascus, and the chief of Damascus is Rezin. Now I find this very interesting. Who is the king of Judah today?
King of Judah. You sure?
Yeshua, right? And the destruction was coming up around Damascus. Who does that talk sound familiar about?
Well, the destruction coming out from Damascus.
Or on the road, Damascus, Yeshua, there was a fight, there was issues. What happened?
What talking about the story.
Yes, that story.
About the guy got beat.
There was a man who was very zealous for what he wanted to do, and he had a letter from the high priest that he was going to go and persecute.
Shaul.
He was going to go persecute him on the road to Damascus.
Oh, with the donkey.
He was going to
The donkey.
Syria. He was in Syria.
He was actually going up to Elam. Yeah, he was going up to Damascus to go and get the people that have run away from Israel, and he was going to persecute them and bring them to court, and he was going to destroy them. This man had no problem stoning people. You were blasphemous cult, and there he meant the King of Kings. I find it interesting that it happens sort of in the same sort of line. You have the King of Judah and you have the King of Damascus, and that same sort of fight. The chief city of Ephraim is Samaria. The chief of Samaria is the son of Ramallah. And in another 65 years, Ephraim shall be shattered as a people. If you will not believe, for you cannot be trusted. What is your translation say?
Ephraim will be shattered from being a people, and the head of Ephraim Samaria. The head
Yeah.
of Samaria is the son of Imelah. If you are not firm in the faith. Now, how far do you want to go?
Just to the end of that, just to the end of the story.
Okay, if you're not firm in the faith, you will not be firm at all.
Okay? If you cannot believe even this will not happen. You do not have the faith, all right? Here he talks about 65 years that will be completely shattered. Okay? Which is rather interesting because I think it was only, in 3 years' time from this very point, Damascus is actually destroyed. But he's talking about here in 65 years. So his prophecy is not only saying now that the city will be destroyed, I think there's people here that are completely scattered much later.
Yeah, that's when Babylon comes.
When Babylon comes down. Okay, so he was actually prophesying when Assyria was going to start the work, but Babylon was really going to start to create that dispersion even up north. Okay? The Lord spoke further to Ahaz, ask for a sign from the Lord your God, anywhere down to Sheol or up to the sky. But Ahaz replied, I will not ask, I will not test the Lord. One more test.
One of his Lord.
Why not test the Lord? Yeshayahu says, ask for a sign. And Ahaz goes,
Does he not say, do not try me? Do
it
not
also
test me?
says in Torah, test me and you will know.
Yeah,
Of course, you have to do it with the right heart.
Ahaz felt guilty, both on the right track. We know from King's escapades that 2 Kings 16, Ahaz doesn't trust God, he actually makes other alliances. He goes to Assyria and he goes, well, if you take care of these people, I'll become a vassal nation. And instead of trusting in God, instead of testing God, instead of letting go, and this is a bugger. How many of you are going to go through a test like this where God goes, this is what I'm saying, everything is going to be just fine, and then all of a sudden the earth starts to quake. And then you go, I'm just going to go talk to someone, maybe they can just give me some guidance, and some money, and something else I might need, instead of waiting for you to deliver. How many times do we make a plan, even though God gives you a surefire word saying, boy, do you trust me or not? You know, some of the biggest boo-boos I've made is when you sit down and you go, okay, God goes, all right, do you trust me? Yes, Lord, I trust you. And then he always does this. Well, he terrorizes us with it, especially. But like, he'll let the business build up a little bit of money, right? And then you'll hit like a tough month and he'll go, do you trust me? Yes, I trust you. I'm just transferring out of savings quickly. And you know what happens to that money? Like a black hole. But it was just here. Something pops up and it eats it, gone. And you were just like, no, there was going to be enough. There was going to be more. Lord, you provided already. I didn't ask you if you had a savings account. My boy, I asked you if you trusted me. And man, over the last couple of weeks, we've been going through this again. You like sit down and you like do the math and you sit down and I've gotten to the place now. You know, I'm part owner, financial manager, look at the books. Yes, it's going to be tight. Okay. So you look and then I've gotten to the point where I just close the books and I go, okay, Lord, day for day. And then I'll come in and we got up to a point where we owed our one creditor. We owed them 248,000 rand. And then we were managed to pay. And then there was a shortfall of 160,000 rand. And I'm thinking, we've got a little bit of money in savings. Should I transfer the money? I'm like, no. Remember what happened last time. So I text him and I go, Lord, you asked me if I trusted you. Here I'm standing. And my mom's freaking out and she's running around. I'm like, do you believe God can do this? Yes. Shut up, go back to your office. I don't care anymore. And I chase her back to the office and we go through this whole thing. And she's freaking out because it's the creditors. And if we don't pay the creditors by the 3rd, man, then there's a train wreck. Because she wants to pay everybody. It's not fair that they're funding our company. That's not the way. So I'm like, God's busy teaching you. Don't get involved. And I go home and I say, okay, Lord, you said trust me. I'm going to go in tomorrow. And I log in and someone paid some more money. Transfer some money out. Thank you, Lord. And I go out and I come back in. 30,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 20,000. And then we eventually, after like 4 days, a couple of cash sales that were unexpected, we're like, it's paid. Yes. savings account still in balance. Lord, I told you I trusted you. And then we found out that's due. Of which we have to pay 110,000 before the 21st. Now you've got no money coming in because you've got no more creditors. We're already using cash sale money and that we're using that we're going to have to pay for the material in 30 days. Oh, and by the way, you've got 4 weeks before you have to pay out bonuses and leave pay.
Good luck, Vince.
Not your problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's time to show off. And you know what happened in the last 3 days? We picked up 3 cash sales and going from a balance of minus 4,000, we are sitting now at plus 85,000. 3 little cash sales. Time and time and time and time and time again, God will go, do you trust me? And when you say yes, hold on. But I promise you it's worth it. Because every time you go in, Lord, and you're saying, I could be stressing myself out today. I could be throwing money into a black hole. I could be doing everything in my power, trying to get through this, making alliances and allegiance with people that are only going to put me into more debt, that are going to want to control me. All he had to do was rely on God, and he would still be a free nation. What did he do? He ran to Assyria, the most brutal army on the planet at that time, and he goes, pick us, we'll be good, we'll be yours. Do you really understand what you've done? Do you really understand what you've done to your people because of a little issue where God says, don't worry, I've got this already. We have to learn. The wilderness is the place we get molded. You think you're going through a tough time? Smile, because it is the best place for you. Before you go into any promised land, I believe that every single one of us, as we go through this thing, we have our own specific promised land. God has called you to be molded to a place for a specific purpose. It's part of your spiritual gift. It's part of who you are. As soon as you yield over to God, He's going, right, thank you very much. It's about time. Now stop living for you, live for me, and I can make you something so much greater than you ever believed. Because you're not living for the world, you're living for the King of Kings holds the universe in His hands. And what I do through you, says the Lord, is going to reverberate through time. Herod built for Herod. He built massive fortresses that defied nature. It was fantastic. Today we go, and I'll show you those fortresses when we go to Israel. It is in nothing but ruins. Yeshua, I cannot take you to any one given place. He was a builder by trade. Remember, the word carpenter is actually tacked on. Okay? Worked mainly with stone, sometimes with wood. I can take you to places where we think He might have laid a stone. No, for sure. What He gave was His life and a testimony, and it literally changed the world. What are you going to live for? Yourself, and watch everything you make gather into dust, or you're going to let God flow through you, and you're going to change not only your life, but thousands of people around you. You've got to let go, and you've got to trust, and you've got to hold on, saying, God, this is tough, man, but I'm here, and I'm fighting. And this is where I want to be, because you have said, I've got this. And if the Creator of everything says, those 2 little snootlops said, don't worry about it. I sent my son, Yeshayahu, and I sent his son, a remnant shall return, to remind you of the fact that I told you already he was going to have a son, and to tell you there was a remnant that was going to return. So, what are you fretting about? To trust God is to literally let go. And it is the most exciting and scariest thing you'll probably ever do. But the cool thing is, when you start letting go enough, you go to work in anticipation. When we started praying for rain, I started looking up at the sky. And I wasn't going, oh, it's so hot. I was like, there's a cloud. It's coming. Next day, it's coming now. It's coming now. And I'm expectant. It's going to be there. I just get to watch and let God do His thing. Do not make the same mistake as Ahaz. Do not run to see what your hands can do, because what you're going to do is you're going to put yourself in a place you can't get out. And then God has to step in, literally break the chains again to give you freedom, of which you threw away anyway. Don't get yourself in this mess. Okay? Alright. Okay, so he says, I will not ask for a sign. Why? Because he was too busy trying to already thinking of other plans. Right? Verse 13. Listen, house of David, Isaiah retorted. It is not enough for you to treat men as helpless that you may also treat God as helpless? Assuredly the Lord will give you a sign of his own accord. If you won't believe, if you won't choose your own sign, I'll give you a sign to show you that the word is true. Look, the young woman, the word young woman in Hebrew is Alma. Okay? In our translation, you'll notice this prophecy coming fulfilled later. A young woman or a virgin. Okay? It could be a maiden. A woman of marriage of, what's a word for? Marriageable age. I don't know if that's even the right term. Marriageable age. Okay, so she's old enough to get married, right? And therefore she can take it. Alright? So a young woman is with child and is about to give birth to a son. Let her name him Emmanuel. What does Emmanuel mean?
God was with us.
He's with us. God is with us facing this. This will be a sign for you, Ahaz. And we know there's a son that is born. His name is? He should be called Emmanuel, but his actual name is something else. No. I'm talking about in Ahaz's time. How would it be a sign to Ahaz if he was only born 500, 600, 700 years later? Maher
Sorry.
Shalbahaz.
Yes.
So there's two people in the Bible that had kids when they were virgins.
No, well that's the thing. They say, no, I don't believe this is a virgin. They use the same word. God uses this prophecy to fulfill something, and I'll show you why I don't believe it's a virgin. Okay? By the time he learns to reject the bad and choose good, people will be feeding on curds and honey. Okay? So by the time he's old enough to distinguish between right and wrong, the people will be feeding on curds and honey. Okay? So we look at curds and honey, we think honey, Torah, right? The sweetness in God's mouth. But actually curds and honey was a normal day-to-day children's breakfast and a poor man's mix. Okay? So they would be eating normally in a sense. They wouldn't be lavishly eating, but by this time, the threat will be gone and everybody will be kind of back into the normal.
My translation's a little bit different.
Okay, what is your way?
It says, butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good.
Okay, butter and honey. Okay, most of the translations and some of the things that the study guides that I've had all say good. So,
Yeah, me too.
okay, so it could just be a little translation. That's not a major thing.
Sorry, just quickly, you said the virgin in the Hebrew is
Could Alma.
uh,
Alma.
A-L-M-A-H.
Alma. Okay, this means a maiden. She's a young woman, or it could be a virgin. What I find interesting is God uses one to sort of allude to the other.
Then what's the word betula?
Betula. It sounds familiar, but I'll have to look it up. Which one are you thinking of?
Right, okay.
Right. Let me know. I'll look it up. But I know this definitely refers to the Alma. Okay? By the time he learns to you'll be eating curds and honey. Verse 16. Before the lad knows to reject the bad and choose the good, the ground whose two kings you dread shall be abandoned. The Lord will cause to come upon you and your people and your ancestors shall such days as never have come since. Ephraim turned away from Judah with the self-same king of Assyria. In that day the Lord will whistle to the flies at the ends of the water channels of Egypt, and to the bees in the land of Assyria, and they shall come and alight in the rugged wadis, and in the clefts of the rock, in all the thorn breaks, in all the watering places. In that day my Lord will cut away the razor that is hired beyond the Euphrates, and the king of Assyria, the hair of the head and the hair of the legs, it shall clip off his beard as well. And in that day each man shall save alive a heifer of the herd, and 2 animals of the flock, and he shall obtain so much milk that he shall eat curds. Thus everyone who is left in the land shall feed on curds. Okay, that's a whole bunch of words to tell you something. Anybody want to take a bet? Take a bet.
And what that means.
Yeah.
The one button that says that they're like nothing, but then, I don't know.
Okay.
It's kind
Is
of-
it not alluding to abundance again? Because curds are like a byproduct of too much milk. It's like the skim of the milk, and it's to make curds is quite a serious process.
Okay.
Does it also say that they're going to go through hard times or something like that?
Yeah, they are going to be. The thing is here, the best translation I can give it to you is the best farmland has been compared to the hairiest parts of the body. So it talks about the legs, it talks about the head, it talks about this, so that is going to be shaved for a time and then it's going to be used. Okay? So yeah, they're going to be a little bit of a tough moment, but before that time sort of comes to fruition, everything is going to be set in its place. For in that day, every spot where there could stand 1,000 vines with 1,000 shekels of silver shall become a wilderness of thorn bush and thistle. One will have to go there and with bow and arrows, for the country shall be full of thorn bushes and thistles. But the perils of thorn bush and thistle shall not spread to any of the hills. They could only be tilled with a hoe. And here cattle shall be let loose, and sheep and goats shall tramp about. Okay. Chapter 8. The Lord said to me, get yourself a large sheet and write on it in common script. For Maher Shahal Hazbaz, and call reliable witnesses. Okay? So basically what he's saying here is, everybody get documentation here, and we're going to notify what was prophesied. Even though King Ahaz is not paying attention, I want you to write this down so that we can say, this was prophesied on this time, and this is the fruit of that prophecy. The priest Uriah and Zechariah, son of Jerebechiah, to witness for me, I was intimate with the prophetess. The prophetess is who? His wife. Right? So he was intimate with her, and she conceived and bore a son, and the Lord said to me, name him Maher Shahal Hashbaz. For before the boy learns to call father and mother, the wealth of Damascus and the spoils of Samaria and the delights of Rezin, and the son of Ramallah shall be carried off before the kings of Syria. So he is Emmanuel. Okay, what is Maher? This guy's name is proper.
Means the spoils fees, the prey hastens.
Okay, so hasten the destruction. Alright, so remember what we said about prophecy. God uses it and he uses it again, and it cycles. Okay, so what he's using here is he's using this prophecy that a young maiden will give birth to someone and you will call him Emmanuel. This is what we know as what happened with Yeshua. But the young maiden was a virgin. Okay, but that is pretty useless if it's just for that, if we do not have a sign for Ahaz who's standing right in front of me now. The promise is to him. So God uses this, a lady, she conceives, hasten the spoil, okay? But we will call him Emmanuel, thus alluding to a time when God will dwell with us. Okay, so you kind of have this twofold section. Now and then. Okay? Any thoughts, any questions? You with me?
I just have one question, because I mean, you know, to be a prophet, didn't it take years and years and years of studies?
No, to be a prophet you needed to be available and scared. Okay? Remember, some of them were sheep herders. What was Moses? He was an Egyptian and he was a shepherd. Okay? There is no way of training for this. You basically have to go, God goes, boy, I pick you. You need to go and talk to that person. And you have to go, okay.
Elijah was also with Elisha. Anyways, one of them was a farmer.
Yeah,
The second one.
So you walk out and you've got to go say, thus says the Lord. And you need to be pooping yourself, because if you get this wrong, God's going to stick a firecracker up your belt.
So I was getting confused between prophet and rabbi. That's
Prophet
all.
and rabbi.
I'm sorry, but Moses had a lot more behind him. Being an Egyptian, this,
He
was groomed.
but he was also groomed. He was a warrior. He was a groomed warrior.
And yet he was chosen to be a shepherd. And Joshua, who wasn't a groomed warrior, was chosen to be the warrior.
Yeah.
So God doesn't necessarily use what you know, but he will take you and he will mold you to understand what you need to be. Moses was molded to be an Egyptian, and God said, no, boy, you need a heart for the people before you can lead my people. And he made him a shepherd. So you will understand if you lose one sheep. Okay? Be very, very, very careful. If you're a prophet and God says you need to say X, Y, and Z, you need to reiterate those words exactly, because their blood is on your hands. If you give them the prophecy and they choose not to heed, the blood is on their head. If you don't give them the prophecy, they could have repented, you don't know. But because you kept your mouth shut, God's holding you accountable. I don't like that game. It is the most ridiculous thing when God asks you to go and talk to someone else, and everything inside you will kick up. Everything. You will make up excuses. You never even knew why you were making up excuses. No. Okay, Lord, yeah. No, if they ask me, I'll talk to them. No, Lord, well, if it's really not the right time right now to be able to talk about this. And then you make like Moses. And I can honestly stand you, I've done it twice. To the point where he's going, hey, have you left yet? Why haven't you spoken to that person? He's like, how about now? Now, and until you literally, I've got to get this off. And you run out and you go and talk to these people and you go like, I should have told you back then, but I was really scared, I was really nervous, and I was being stupid, but I actually need to know. This is what God wants you to know. It is one of the most difficult things, because you're talking to a person, number one. If you let your mind wrap around it, there's 50 million reasons why you shouldn't do it. You're going to go to the point where you're going to be like, no, what happens if they just don't want to listen? So what's the point of telling them? They're kind of sad. That you're drinking. It doesn't matter. What they need to hear is what God is sending you to tell them, because what God brings is normally comfort and peace and clarity. And normally, in every case, is about stop what you're doing and come back to me. Okay? Prophets, availability. Rabbis need to stay.
Something very interesting here is, sorry, I'm not topic here, but here's got a note. It says the Hebrew word for God is with us is Emmanuel, or law.
Or?
Law.
Law.
Torah. No, that's just the note here.
I don't see Emmanuel. Torah is, okay. It's an interesting thing. Somewhere along the line they'll have to clarify that, because Torah has to do with instruction. Interesting. Maybe we can see what it is. I've never heard that. Okay. Okay. Naming Maher Shahal Hashbaz for before the Lord. Okay, he'll be eating curds. All right. I think I need to turn the page. Verse 5, right?
Yeah, yes.
Again the Lord spoke to me thus, because that people has spurned, so we already know what they've done, the gentle flowing waters of Siloam. What does Siloam mean?
Salem.
No, but that's where God took the Israelites.
No, that's Elim.
When they got
Siloam. Shiloah in Hebrew.
Shiloh is an aqueduct outside of Jerusalem. But there was a thing in John 9 verse 7 where Yeshua says, go wash in the pool of Siloam.
Same place. You remember King Hezekiah's tunnel. Remember what happened? Okay? Yes? Okay? Hezekiah's tunnel, Jerusalem's on top. They know that the Assyria is coming down, so what they do is they actually take the Gihon spring, which is outside the city. Here's the walls. They close it up and they build a little tunnel. And they link the spring, but it's all underground. Okay? That tunnel that they made was set at a stretch. You can actually go walk a section of the tunnel today. Alright? Which is absolutely mind-boggling. They followed a fissure in the rock. Okay? So one team started up at the top here, one team started slightly lower. And the gradient is 0.5% the entire way. So just enough to float. It was in the dock. And somehow, this team met up with this team around this point, about half a meter above them. It says they actually stopped because they heard and they started calling out to each other. hello, hello, where are you? And I actually had an inscription, which is now locked away in a museum somewhere, at the place where the two tunnels joined. Okay, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. I have no idea how those people understood which way they were going. In some places you're walking like this, and in other places it's probably 3 or 4 times my height, and in some places probably bigger from the ground up all the way to the top of the roof. That's how big that fissure is. And it's winding, and you're turning, and you're going left, and you're going right, and you can't see what's going on. If you do not have a torch in there, it's the most freakiest thing ever, because as you're walking, and you're walking in water, some places it's this deep, and other places it's that deep, and you hear, and behind you, you hear the condensation, the water droplets go, in the water behind you, and you look behind you, and there's no one there. The excitement of doing the first walk by myself in the dark. It's not a place you want to go party, you know? It's a very eerie thing, and like I said, you don't know where you're coming out, you don't know where you're going to end up, and then all of a sudden, you end up at this place, and there's life. This was miraculous. Okay, and the pools of Siloam, or Shiloach, is where they made their little come out from the Gihon. Okay, now Shiloach means sent. Okay, so like you'll see in some of your Bibles that when it talks about the Talmidim, the disciples, it means they call them shlichim, sent ones, ambassadors, emissaries. Okay, that is a play on that. Water of life. Okay, so he sends them to this place where Hezekiah had been preparing, or gonna prepare, coming up. He's gonna prepare for what is going on. Okay? Assuredly, my Lord will bring up against them the mighty massive waters of the Euphrates, the kings of Assyria and his multitude. It will rise above the channels and flow over all their beds and swirl around like Judah, like a flash flood, reaching up to the neck. So now all of a sudden God's talking about massive waters of the Euphrates, the king of Assyria and his multitude coming up in channels. And the funny thing is here, this is quite common in Assyrian literature, where the king of Assyria is actually referred to as a mighty flood. Okay, that's his gamer name. Okay, so if you really want to know who he is, here's the mighty flood that comes to sort out what's going on. Okay, so it says, so God uses what they're already allocating, the mighty Euphrates, and then he's going to come, and then they're going to come to this place, reaching up to the neck. Where did Assyria stop when they came to do the conquest? Outside of Hezekiah's city, which is?
it was
Where did they stop? Outside the walls of where?
It starts with an L.
No, it doesn't start with a J.
Oh, Jericho.
Jerusalem.
Sorry, wrong again.
I was thinking of that story.
They were outside Jerusalem. Okay, they were at Lachish, where he was sitting in going, send your people, but the destruction came up to the neck. It was not the head of the country, which is Jerusalem. Okay, so even here, it says it reaches up to the neck, already prophesying that it will not overcome them. Okay? But with us is God, whose wings are spread as wide as your land is broad. Okay, that cloud, that covering, that God as a mighty eagle protects him, the eaglets underneath him. Band together, O peoples, you shall be broken. Listen to this, you remotest parts of the earth. Gird yourselves, you shall be broken. Gird yourselves, you shall be broken. There is a tough time coming, get ready. Hatch a plot, it shall be foiled. Agree on action, it shall not succeed. For with us is God. Now, God is bringing the destruction because Ahaz refused to rely on him. So now he's warning the people. I need to put them through this to teach Ahaz, and you guys need to understand that you will only rely on me. The very thing you trusted in is coming down, and it's going to nearly destroy you. Faith lesson number 2. Everything you think is going to help you grow, get you to the next level, help you through this, your intelligence, your wealth, your charms, your good looks, whatever you think you've got. When God says, trust me, and you put that before Him, He will take that. Remember Vince going, no, if we just move money over from the savings. Vince trusted in his savings account, he didn't trust in God. He will take that. No. One more time around the mountain, you need to understand this. But we just did the thing, and why are we not in a better position? Because you didn't learn to trust me. Listen to me. God's main focus is to get you to fix, the first part is to get